Zygarde has truly been a mysterious legendary Pokemon for me, because I do mean mysterious in the sense that I never really knew that much about the lore, the abilities, where it fit in the story, and I don't think I was alone, because Zygarde has been treated strangely and mysteriously by Game Freak. It's been not fully fleshed out or expanded upon and explored. It's natural that some fans still don't know a lot about this mysterious Pokemon, and we never got to see some resolution or story or just anything really that would flesh it out. But with the release of Pokemon Legends Z to A in 2025, I anticipate seeing Zygarde in its prime and prominently. Part of the story, part of it all. I'm hoping for it. I think that's an obvious call. We're probably gonna get more lore building on top of this Pokemon. Take this video as like a refresher on some lore and what we know about Zygarde thus far. Because, like I said, my personal experience wasn't quite there, and I had to research a bit more about the Pokemon to kind of refresh, and so we can do that. Let's talk about Zygarde a bit before 2025. Let me know, though, if I missed anything, or if you have thoughts to expand on and everything. I always love seeing the discussion in the comments and whatnot, and don't forget to leave a like if you can. Leave a like if you can. I don't know why that's funny, but man, I'm terrible at that. Alright, let's get into a brief overview of Zygarde's initial introduction in Pokemon X and Y. So, I don't think I got the chance to reach Zygarde in my first playthrough of X and Y, because it was kind of a little, not a secret, but it was not a huge event or memorable experience. Like, you can find Zygarde in both games, in Terminus Cave. You go in there, there's like railroad tracks and everything, it's dark, you're gonna go under some drawbridges, and battle some trainers, and you're gonna come across a spot with stairs that are blocked until you beat the Elite Four, but once you do that, you can access these areas. And then you go all the way to the back, and you find him. You just find Zygarde hanging out. It's the legendary Z Pokemon, or Z Pokemon if you're from another place. We'll see more in Pokemon Legends Z. That's what people thought, because we are under the assumption that there would be a third game, and Zygarde is obviously the third legendary for that needs to be expanded on. So you go ahead and catch it, you get your second legendary in that game. Battle, capture, okay, got it. It sure is mysterious. It says it protects ecosystems and whatnot. It says, this is the Order Pokemon, alright? But there's not much info. And maybe we'll get it in the future, but no. As you know, jumping into the future to the current day, there's no Pokemon Z. There never was. But Legends Z to A might be what we're looking for. I wish I could go into detail about the mysteries and lore of Zygarde, but I never really saw it around that time, and even now, there's just a lot of speculation, because like I said, it's so mysterious still, shrouded in mystery, I want to say. We do have the basics though, being that, like I said, Zygarde is known as the Order Pokemon. It keeps order and balance between X and Y, the X and Y axis that was the inspiration for the X and Y legendaries, life and death. So there is a whole thing in the games and everything about ideals, about intersecting ideals and whatnot. There's a lot going on, and Zygarde just kind of chilling. There's also like a hell of a lot of stuff going on, in Kalos's past. There's also a heck of a lot of stuff going on with Lysander, and Zygarde never pops up to restore order now that there's like chaos happening, but that's okay. But yeah, ending X and Y, it ended in for me, no Zygarde, but it also ended in just kind of no real lore for that and no future Z game. Game. But you did get some content in Gen 7. We got to see more Zygarde content in Gen 7 for some reason. I was too engrossed in my Hawaiian-inspired vacation to care enough to gather the cells you were meant to get for it. It was just confusing that Gen 6 characters were now in Gen 7 for some reason. They're enjoying an Alolan vacation, I guess. But they have this task that you must go around with this Zygarde cube thing, collecting Zygarde cells. Zygarde's about cells. Zygarde has cores and cells scattered, and you have to collect them to assemble Zygarde's different forms. Hold on, what? Different forms? Like, what do you mean? We saw Zygarde in the cave. That's what he looks like. No, it's not. That's his 50% snake form. I'll call it a snake form. Pretty much looks like it. Because our 10% form is a dog, and that's my favorite. Let me know your favorite. I freaking love this dog, but there's like no lore on why it's like this Doberman or something, but I would love to get some backstory. I don't think we'll go into that backstory at all, but I don't know. I just had to talk about the dog. I like him. And then you have Zygarde complete form, which is the one I should be talking about the most and hyping up, but like, I just can't get over the dog. But yeah, so this allows for players to experience all these different forms for this legendary Pokemon. It's confusing because like I said, there's like no story surrounding it. There's like no context for it. It's just, they're just there. They're just in there. There's cells, you collect them, you get this form, and that's the info you get. You still just have a Pokedex entry, all right? I think the anime went into more depth with it, but as far as the games, nada. Pretty much nada. And like I said, I never really played around with it, and so like, I never really played around with Zygarde. I didn't even really know how to change the form or anything. I didn't have one, but I need to grab one from Dynamax freaking Adventures. You know, shiny hunt that thing. Because holy cow, does Zygarde's shiny hit. Wow, that's an incredible shiny. Wow. Wow. But that's not what we're here for. So, I guess you have your Zygarde cube, and you can kind of reassemble and assemble and whatnot, and then get the forms you'd like. I don't know, but Zygarde it's interesting in that sense. And then, yeah, because there's not that much lore on it already, we have this thing where it's supposed to be the balance between the legendary Pokemon. It's gonna be interesting. I think that in the Legends game, I really hope that we get expanded, and I really hope that we get potentially even an A Pokemon to interact with Zygarde, because we do have the game being called Legends Z to A, and it could have to just be like a play on A to Z or something. I also really hope it ties into the actual character named AZ. That was also wild in X and Y. I mean, X and Y story, I don't know what I was up to the first playthrough, but you know, it's got some wild beats. But at the same time, I don't think I never made it like that far and remember it distinctly, because it wasn't my favorite game, I guess. But it's a good game, just not my favorite. And so I'm definitely more interested revisiting a bit more now that we have upcoming stuff that might reveal more. But yeah, no, I don't know. I would love to know, you know, why there's these forms. So we talked about, you know, how he's in this snake form, and my questions are that, you know, why is he chilling dormant there? I guess in the like, what's the purpose for this Pokemon to be a dog, a snake thing, and then the true order form kind of thing. This like big macho Optimus Prime guy. And his design is super unique. I love looking at reference sheets for Pokemon, and I was looking at Zygarde's, and there's so much more jam-packed in the reference sheet than in X and Y or in any other game, I feel like. Because you see his ultimate form here, you see that his like, I don't even know what to call it, but there's snakes. There's it's like snake things coming out or moving with him and stuff. And then you can see it like shooting out a laser at some point kind of thing. I don't know what it's up to, because I'm like smiling as I say this because I'm like, what is this? Expand, hopefully. And we also see it as like some sort of Guzzlord looking thing. And when I say that, I mean that it like opens its mouth. Like his chest is a mouth looking thing that I hadn't really noticed until diving into it again and looking at references and whatnot. But no, it's totally like little Guzzlord. And it even does a little shape into its Z form, Z looking shape. Super cool. Like, I'm pretty pumped. I want to know more about this stuff, especially the dog. I wish they would have a reference for the dog, but it would just be like Doberman. The dog should be 100%. All right. Okay, I don't know. I need to stop. I'm excited to see what this could mean. It would be exciting to revisit the X and Y Pokemon, of course, the legendaries, and it'd be interesting to see Zygarde interact with them. But I think that Legends, I hope, is going to really disrupt the ecosystem in Kalos. I hope it shakes things up. I don't know if, yeah, they're gonna shake things up, I guess, more than Lysander needed to, because we want to see this thing in action. We need to, like, destroy, like, Lumiose, okay? We're gonna go into Lumiose and the, you know, main not even like villain, but like person is probably gonna be like, hey, we're redesigning everything and it goes wrong and Zygarde's here and like maybe a new legendary or megas or I don't know. Like I said, we're in speculation mode and it's early speculation mode. So yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see if this thing is able to restore balance or whatever. I'm gonna be really interested. If you want to get your own Zygarde before Legends Z-A comes out and you don't have XY, you can also get Zygarde through Dynamax Adventures in Sword and Shield, the DLC. So, time for me to get my own Zygarde. This is done in Pokemon Sword and Shield via Dynamax Adventures, which came in the Crown Tundra DLC. Do you remember this? It's kind of a bizarre cave system where the whole adventure consists of you and other players, whether it be online or through NPCs, attempt this raid on a legendary Pokemon who sits at the end of the tunnel system. Along the way, you're battling other Dynamax Pokemon with your rental Pokemon to hopefully get their aid in the journey and to catch them. And there's also NPCs you can run into in order to change Pokemon at a gamble or get healing or get items to prepare for this big raid. And there's also berries as snacks as well. The legendaries at the end of the tunnel are a mystery before you go in, with the only information being just one type, and it's a pretty harsh cloud to try and see inside. But if you have saved a certain legendary, then you will know what the end result is. There's tons of legendaries you can hunt here. None are shiny locked, and even the better news is that the whole cave system has increased shiny aunts to 1 in 100, meaning that getting a shiny Pokemon you caught along the journey is very real, and this was definitely a peak shiny hunting spot during its time. But the main draw was of course the shiny legendary Pokemon. That's if you can even reach them. In the very beginning, you have to select a rental Pokemon, since this whole thing is done without your own Pokemon. One detail I never really liked was that you couldn't select to keep your rental Pokemon at the end of the adventure, I guess because you didn't technically capture it, and while that does make sense, I just hate the feeling of seeing a potential rental Pokemon you would love to see shiny potentially, and then remembering that it's not yours, even after going through all that with it. I don't know, but the rest of the Pokemon are fair game, as long as you catch them. They are also mysterious though, just one type shown and a thick fog around them, but not as thick because you can still kind of make out some shadows. I remember when the DLC initially dropped and everyone was shiny hunting through here and oftentimes online, and you concoct the best routes and plans and communications with each other, especially to beat Zygarde. I think the journey to the legendary is usually fine if you're communicating or doing it online with like actual players, but sometimes the NPCs can be super unhelpful, as we know, super weak, and can end in disaster. You've only got a set number of chances for a raid team's party Pokemon to faint, so like if your Pokemon faints and your NPC guys do, or just your NPC guys, you know, you get blown out of there. You get straight up blown out of the cavern. I can recall many times of that, that I had to rely on other NPCs and it was horrible. And sometimes it was just frustrating trying to shiny hunt these tricky legendaries with NPCs, but it's totally doable, don't worry. I did do a number of hunts after the release of the DLC trying to get the bacon-colored Yveltal, as well as a black Rayquaza. But then I stopped, and then when I came back randomly to do one Dynamax adventure, I got it by surprise. Like, I wasn't hunting, and so that was super awesome. It was around the time the Scarlet and Violet anime dropped, because I named it Horizons, since the anime is called Pokemon Horizons, and there's a very prominent black Rayquaza in the main story. But yeah, I was shocked. Hopefully can get Zygarde or something, but that's how you can get yourself Zygarde or shiny Zygarde if you're wanting to hunt it. But keep in mind, if you catch it once, you can only have one, so if you catch it, you can't get it again. If you check it and it's not shiny, you can just not take it, and then it'll be available to like jot down its location, and you can keep going through that den. So, first of which, the questions of origin and purpose. Zygarde is originally supposed to be a guardian of the environment. It is a guardian. It is the order Pokemon. It's even got the category, order. It's meant to protect the ecosystem, the environment, the, monitor and everything. Its purpose is to create balance. And we never got to see its purpose fulfilled in X and Y. We never got Pokemon Z, and we never got to see it in action with balancing Yveltal and Xerneas. Every time I say Yveltal, I feel like I'm still pronouncing it wrong. Maybe I am, but the X and Y Pokemon, X and Y legendaries, Zygarde is supposed to be the center of the axis. If you're going to take the axis, I think they were saying this in some interview, talking about it, but Zygarde is balance for the ecosystem. Then there's the question about relating to the other legendaries, as we just briefly touched on. How does it relate to the other legendaries, Xerneas and Yveltal? Oh my gosh, that name. They are a trio, just as we see with most Pokemon games and stuff, but as I said, they haven't really interacted. I hope in Pokemon Z to A, we might get that interaction. We might get also another Pokemon, and that would be cool too. An A Pokemon? I would love that. But it could just be a play on the name. We'll just have to see. Xerneas embodies life, Yveltal represents death, and Zygarde is supposed to be the mediator between them. How does it serve as a mediator? That's one thing I'd love to see. Another question is about form changes. Zygarde is super unique that its forms are triggered by the assembly of its cells, which gather to form different structures depending on the level of threat to the ecosystem, let's say. I say that from a lore standpoint, but we do see it in game and whatnot, so we can see, if we're gonna go back to, games and stuff, like I said, he just kind of can swap around. My favorite form is that dog, that 10% form, but like I said, there is also that 30 or 50% and then the complete one. The complete one is wild. I mean, all of them are wild, but I hope that we can see specific form changes. I wish to know maybe even just more on the lore behind the designs, the importance, all that stuff. But I think hopefully in Z to A, some form changes can really be shown and amplified, and we might even get new form changes in the form of Mega Evolution or something. That would be absolutely wild, but Zygarde is already wild when it comes to forms. And that cell distribution, super interesting. Like I said, we had that whole minigame and other things before with these scattered cells. Maybe we will see interesting new cell distribution in the new game, I'm hoping. It's interesting. I don't quite know the purpose of the scattered cells and whatnot. I think the scattered ones allow Zygarde to monitor the region's environment and respond, but this network of cells, it's interesting. I'll have to maybe go back to Sun Moon and see the purpose, because as I said, we didn't get cells or these forms in XY. We got them in Gen 7, which is crazy. It's like it's Gen 7 Pokemon. Oh my goodness. And then I want to see relation to Mega Evolution for Zygarde. Zygarde, is he related to this phenomenon? I would actually like to see the Kalos legendaries visited with this too, and even some regular Kalos Pokemon. It's strange to me that there was no Kalos Pokemon that got Mega Evolutions, save for maybe Diancie, but that one came a bit later, I believe. We didn't really get the same treatment as Gen 1. Gen 1 was stacked with Mega Evolutions, oh my goodness. But hopefully we can see it for Kalos Pokemon. Hopefully we can see it maybe with the legendaries as well, and maybe we will see a tie to Mega Evolution with Zygarde. Then there is that unexplored lore. Like I said, its origins and interactions, it's really a blank slate, it feels like. It's unexplored, and hopefully Z to A goes into more. I bet it will. Something, but we'll just have to see. Zygarde is also interesting with real-life mythology and whatnot. It draws from a number of things. I think we already touched on, Serpent with the snake and stuff. We have this dog and we have, the big guy. But I would love to hear more about its real-world mythology and interactions. And I think that ties into, like I said, with the form changing, maybe getting more info or insight or context into that I think that would be really cool. We may not get that, but I just think it would be cool to draw those connections clearer. And then connection to environmental things, like I said, concept in nature, balancing nature and the ecosystem and preserving it. I don't know why it wasn't prominent, let's say, in XY. Obviously, from a game standpoint, it's because it wasn't the main focus of the game, so it never really got involved with the conflict, I'd say. But in theory, or in this idea, I'm kind of surprised it didn't jump in, but I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see some story with that regarding it. I am very excited about it. And yeah, I think it's going to be a really fun future game. I think Zygarde is a really fun and interesting creature, really interesting guy, Pokemon Goon, but there is still so much left unknown, at least for me, of course. There's a lot of speculation to be had, and I would love to hear about yours as well, so don't forget to leave a comment if you would like, and I will definitely get to you, and I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. But thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye!